Good afternoon, Scott Redler, T3 Live. Welcome to Thursday's recap. It's been a long week. There's been a lot of action, and got to figure out which way or which side you want to be on it. Every day we come in, we're not exactly sure what's going to transpire. So what do? We put together a plan. We put together, did I just say a plan? A game plan. Anyway, a roadmap to figure out what could be next. We map out support, we map out resistance, we look where the relative strength is, we try and figure out what's acting well, what's in a positive trend, what's above higher level support, what's kind of mid-range, where can you potentially short relative weakness, put it all together, and technical traders do a lot more than just look at red and green bars. I don't care what anyone says out there, but I would much rather have a group of 400 on my virtual trading floor with 800 eyeballs picking out the action, looking at great chart patterns versus a research team that might be correct at some particular point down the road, but it all depends on whether or not you're solvent enough to stay with the thesis if the market's not confirming it. But let's move on. So you go to the spiders and we go to the chart. I list a chart every single day that you guys should print out, put by your desk, and today wasn't sure what would happen. I said, okay, we have support, 201.45, that's yesterday's low. This was, a few days back, the pivot from the gap at 277. The question was, how would we react? How were we going to react after a huge move from this V bottom? From when we took out the pivot at the V bottom to the gap up that held, showed strength, to another move that wound up being another gap up that held. And then this week, I'm like, how are we going to handle, this? Okay, we pushed down, you had a surgical short, but if you didn't cover and you stayed with it, you're like, what do I do now? Especially if you've been doing that this whole way. And then today, we opened up above the prior high, right? We opened up above 202.59 where we were there pre-market, came into the prior low, held and closed relatively strong in a same trend that's been faster and slower at times. It all depends on what's cooking. You look at the Qs, not quite as strong, not the biggest deal, but a little bit of a laggard, something a tiny bit different, but still holding above this prior gap, letting the 8-day catch up. Strong markets test their 21-day, let alone their 8-day. So anyway, still above the prior high, looking solid. At some point, perhaps this is going to break above this and give you another move. All in all, acting very well. Okay, you have a gap here that didn't get tested, a gap here that went sideways and digested, and I don't like unfilled gaps either, but that just shows you the power of this direction for now. Some people looking at the IBB saying, got to be just all in short because it's lagging a little bit. But if you look at the size of this move through prior highs, extended from all the moving averages, and finally it broke the 8-day. Again, what did I just say? You could touch the 21-day and still be fine. And then you want to take another step further and look at the retracement rules, because that's how you measure commitment to a move. Okay, this low here, okay, which is what we put in there, to the high, and where we pulled back. We pulled back between the 25% retracement and the 0.382% retracement. This is deemed a super fast market. This is still deemed a strong market. This is actually even deemed commitment. And we got to here and everyone's crying, short, 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 short because of it. Versus, give it some time and look, where else you can make some money. As far as today's concerned, there was, definitely mixed signals across the board. Some things to be and some things to just give time, some things to avoid. And as far as the dynamics of the, of the dollar and the euro and the currencies and the, and the commodities, it was a weird day, right? You had the dollar super strong, and with the dollar super strong, those looking for a bounce in the GDX wound up getting one a little bit. I think this was up 4 or 5%. But if you were buying the GLD because the GDX was bouncing and went above a prior high, you probably were like, oh, it's not really doing that, especially when you have a gap here, a gap here. So that was kind of a weird divergence where typically when the gold miners are very strong, the next day or so gold bounces, but it's been in such a strong downtrend that, doesn't really make much sense to, be looking for a big time long, especially after it broke this level and broke this level and then broke this trend here and broke this trend here. Look, these patterns keep repeating themselves. This upper pattern looks exactly the same down here. So That's why we point out to prior patterns, because they repeat themselves. You could have learned to, get out of the way here or get short there, get out of the way here, get short there, or vice versa, or whatever it is you do, versus just trying to sit in it, because there's no reason to just sit. So anyway, let's see what happens here tomorrow. I think this is a no trade. But then in the oil patch, you had oil still weak, but then you had, the energy names perking up. I don't know exactly what that means. Maybe people are trying to place some money for something because these have gotten cheap. So you look at the XLE, still not a leader. Okay, it's definitely a laggard. We pointed out this red dog reversal here, this mid-level pattern there. You had a nice little short here that gave a day-and-a-half trade into support that now is still going sideways. I'm not sure if it's just going to get up and go, but it looks okay, close strong. I went with a little bit there. I don't think the OAHs are as good. It's still in the lower level, below all the moving averages, so it's just a tactical trade, if anything. The XLF has been much better, obviously. Look at that move through highs above all the moving averages. That's why we say stocks that are above all moving averages or sectors, they move the fastest because they're accumulated ahead of the overall indices, and this has been doing well. Go to some stocks. I am sitting in Morgan that finally poked its head above this small little trend line. I'm hoping to be able to sit in this thing for a move back to highs of the year. I don't know why they're not there yet, but still above all the moving averages, so I consider it something okay to sit in. I'm sitting in Bank of America also, above all the moving averages. Not a barn burner. I'm not over trading it, but it's fine to have some money working, and it's still inching up decent percentage, from where we mentioned the last pivot was, which was right around here. Okay, Goldman Sachs, what'd you do today? Yeah, actually a little sideways action, and this made it above the high, so this is the strongest. Little flag here. If this were to get above this tomorrow with a strong jobs number, maybe it'll ignite the banks, but they're still acting well. They're trending. So if you're in stocks that are trending and you want to be long things in a portfolio approach above the 8 and 21 day, those are doing well. Today, I did buy back some Apple. Apple to me is building a nice flag once again. I'm not going to reiterate what's been happening here, but on this 7-for-1 split, we said 100 plus iPhone to head, and it's been a lot of nice trades along the way. Then you had this big, 3-month or so consolidation after earnings, got back in as a swing trade, sold some, and then today I said, I need to get back in somewhat because I do feel as though this could be north of 110 year end, so buying it into 108, I would have liked it a little bit further, but it didn't happen. I'm going to take some. As far as BABA, I've been fighting people on the friggin' Twitter sphere for a month. It's such a pain in the pain in the BABA. But just not even worth the effort. But I just get upset when influencers out there bash situations that can make a lot of money for traders, and then bash things and not even be involved in them and blow up traders who are trying to short something that's been trending very well. And if you look at BABA, it's been really nice. On IPO day, it didn't act great, and I actually lost money that day. And within this, we tried it a few times, it didn't work, and then finally, it woke up. Finally, it broke the small trend line, showed commitment, and then I said, if it starts getting above 90, people are going to have to buy it in the high 90s, to be involved, or they want to buy it lower. So it'll be a chase game. And you had a nice move. Then we measured it versus the IPO high, which it took out, and then and then you had a nice little option play. I think it was 200% for some people, and then I got out of it yesterday, and then even today I was like, it's not waiting for anybody. It's clearing this 110. I have to be in some, maybe not as much as I want to be because it didn't flag here long enough. But if you go to your 60-minute chart, it gave you a nice entry. Okay, all of a sudden I was watching it, or okay, so here's your 60-minute chart. Let's go actually 5-minute chart, I'm sorry. Okay, where here was the past 2 sessions. You had your peak, came in. I was not long it here. Okay, I thought perhaps it can go lower, but then it came up to 110, and so one of my VTFs said, wow, Bob is going to break 110. Red Dog, you're not in it. And I was like, geez. I'm like, if it looks real strong, it could break it. It was right around lunchtime. I bought a little bit, went to lunchtime because that's what I do, because I'm in at 6:30 in the morning. I need to refresh. I need to come back clean so I could think clearly. And then thank goodness I got back around 145, was able to add here, and then let it trend through the prior high. So all in all, if you looked at this 5-minute chart and you didn't look at where it came from, okay, because it is overbought, you had a nice flag, old highs, You could have had a perfect entry here if you saw it, but I don't think anyone was really looking for that. Back to highs, then it held the top end of this range, so there's your trade. So I wound up taking some on the VTF also, long overnight, even though it is extended, but we've done pretty well with it. That if we gap up tomorrow, why wouldn't this thing be higher? So why not be in the strongest stock out there, even though it's a little extended? So, but there are guys out there just making fun of it, saying, where is it going to be in 3 months from now? Who cares? A lot of people said the same thing about Tesla when it was 90. It went to 250, or LinkedIn, or Google back in the day, whatever. When stocks are in strong trends, you trade them, you learn how they move, you make money there, and when the trend changes, you get out of the way. And we saw that even in G-Pro. G-Pro, a lot of guys are bashing this too, and yes, it's not acting phenomenal now, but you had a nice run with G-Pro. You had your first move up, then look what happened when this cleared its IPO high, then followed the 8-day all the way here, rested, gave you another nice move into the highs here, a little bit of a sell signal there, not an extreme one, and then when it broke the 8-day, could have got out of it and said the trend now changed. I got to give it time. But you were able to ride it versus fight it. And that's what you have to do as a trader. As an active trader, you have to ride fast-moving trends, not fight them, not short them, not think what if, not say, I don't even know what you say, but whatever. It is what it is. That's our job. Our job is to ride trends. And when they change, we change. Lately, this Mobileye, I think it's coming out with earnings today, this also gave you a nice trend, okay, in the beginning, but it changed. This is when it cleared one area. This is when it broke above the IPO high, was following the 8-day, got a little wishy-washy, and then it broke here. It tried to, rebuild, and then it followed the 21-day, and then it broke here. And that was on top of an outside day, and since then it's been doing nothing. But overall, it's still an infant in the life of a stock, and at some point, perhaps, it gets better and has a few good earnings calls and gets going, because it does have a big future. But for right now, it's just a little wishy-washy. Tesla today, definitely frustrating on both ends. Okay, if you shorted it when it broke below this prior low here, okay, you got squeezed. And then if you thought it was going to break into this gap here, which it looked like it could have for a little while, it didn't. So at this point, it's something to watch. I'm not as enamored as I was with it way back when it was trending, when you had a really nice move, for a long, like look at this trend, following the 8-21 day while everyone bashed it. A lot of traders made a lot of money, then it changed. But then look, it pulled back, touched the 200-day, reconvened, and went again. And it continued to go again. So all of a sudden, you go to a longer-term chart. Let's check out what's happening here. Well, it's still in there. You've made a lot more money on the long side of Tesla than the short side of Tesla, and I don't care who the bashers are out there. But at this point, it's at a little bit of an indecision spot. But overall, I think that we love Musk, we love the car. I think that electric cars is the way of the future. It's just a matter of how much it gets adopted, when the prices go down, what margins are going to look like, what kind of stuff, whatever it is. I'm not that smart. Go to the smart guys to figure out what's next. All I know is at this point, a little bit of a crossroads. I'm a lot less involved. If something starts to show a little bit more clarity, I'll get back more involved. What else? What did Baidu do today? Baidu, okay, still looks pretty good. Stocks are allowed to hold the 8-day. I talked about the 8-day in my morning note, and if you bought it on the 8-day, you did okay. It still probably needs some time. Really nice chart. If you've been an investor in Baidu since it came public, a lot of people were bashing this thing too back in the day. That's where it was back in the day. You could have built a lot of wealth in this friggin' thing. Market wasn't rigged here, I guess to the upside. But anyway, that's why, when Baba came out, I was like, if Baidu could be up 1,000%, why not perhaps this in the infancy? I watched Google go from 100 to 700. I've watched crazy names that have big institutional backers fulfill and deliver on earnings and on growth and become big winners. So why not watch to see if that could happen? And that's what has started to happen here. And now, we'll see if it continues. But overall, really nice move. And then we'll figure out if it changes. So it is Thursday. Tomorrow's the jobs number. I probably have a few extra longs than I would like, but we'll see what happens. I'm comfortable and I know why I'm in each of them, and I'll figure out what's next tomorrow. The market's been fast, furious. There's been a lot of things to do. There's been a lot of divergences, but if you come in prepared every day, you could make money. If you come in every day with a plan and wait for the market to confirm it and then execute with a clear mind, you can make a living. If you're going to listen to Zero Hedge and listen to, I'm not even going to name any names, and all they want to do is bash and talk and not even trade, you're going to have so many divergences in your own head that you're never going to be able to react, and you're going to be in the pain trade and shorting every move and upset at the world and bitter, and that's not the way you should be. You should be glass half full. Be opportunistic. Bet on the world to win. It's been winning for 100 years, and granted there are cycles, but if you time the cycle and you have a long-term plan and a mid-term approach and even an active strategy, you can combine them all and make a lot of money in the market versus, bashing it and not wanting to open the newspaper and cringing every time you hear all-time high. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great night. Thirsty Thursday. Have some fun.